195 Charlestown in Nevis. So give us a call. Our numbers are 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. And by the way, those will be the numbers you'll use to be a part of this evening's discussion. Again, thank you very much for joining us. This is your voice in the community. Thought that get results. With regard to your participation in the show, we encourage you to call in on the numbers listed 1-869-469-1616 and 1700. Here's a suggestion. You have a question or a comment, perhaps you can get a pencil, piece of paper, write it down so that you're well organized. And when we get on the show, you take as little time as possible so we can accommodate as many of you as we can. We ask only, first of all, you respect yourselves and then respect others, because we will not accept anything that we deem is not within our broadcast standards. But we encourage you to be always forceful with your point. By the way, you can also follow our live video stream of this program on our Facebook page at Vaughan Radio and our YouTube channel, Vaughan Radio. Click subscribe. Tonight, we want to first of all wish you a very wonderful, bright and prosperous new year. Some people are going to argue it's almost old by now, but a month ain't finished yet. We just have to the first month. So we wish you health, strength, and everything you wish for yourself, right? Because I don't think you'll wish anything bad. Now, also, I just want to mention this is our first edition for the year 2025. When we left you in 2024, we closed out the year on a somewhat sad note. We had lost super heavyweight Edric W. Stanley, but we got some solace in knowing that he had done the best that he could while he served his people. And so, though it was hard, and it's still hard, we took some solace in that. At the beginning of this year, we have lost another team member. You may not have been too familiar with him because he worked basically in the field. You might have heard about an electrician who, in the closing stages of last year, got electrocuted while doing some work on a residential. And so we lost Burley Walwyn. He'll be interned on Friday. So, to his family, his lovely wife, and his close family and his extended family, and all of us here at the Eastern Caribbean's Powerhouse, he too had done the best that he could. And I think the rest of the society is a testimony to that. And we also, therefore, find some solace in that. It still hurts. Having said that, the Honorable Spencer Brand, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and a very pleasant good evening to your hard-working and very talented staff here at Vaughan Radio. Let me from the outset, Webbo, wish you and your staff a very happy new year, and all that is good, all that is exciting, all that is wonderful. As we start this new year, let me say a very pleasant good evening to my fellow panelists, Conrad Naya-Liberd and Roger Fifield. Let me say to these two very distinguished gentlemen, the very best for 2025. Good evening to all those who are listening us at this time, those who are listening here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, those in the various islands close to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, the British and US Virgin Islands, further down south all the way down to Guyana, those who are listening up north, those who are listening in Puerto Rico, in the great United States and Canada, and over the pond to Europe, England, to our students all the way over there in Taiwan. Wherever you are listening from at this time, let me bid you a very pleasant good evening. And also let me take this opportunity to wish you and your family the very best for 2025. Webbo, I want to say a very pleasant good evening to two gentlemen who I believe might be listening. The one and only Ted Hobson Casey. I had a chat with him this week and he is doing remarkably well. And I also want to say good evening to my good friend, the mighty Flamingo, who I also had a conversation with this week, who is also doing well. I believe from time to time people would want to know how these folks in our communities are doing. So I just thought I would say to the world that both Ted and Flamingo, they are doing remarkably well. Webbo, you started by indicating to all of us, of course, the passing of Burley. I was shocked and saddened when I heard the news, and I want to take this opportunity, certainly on behalf of my wife and I and my entire family, how saddened this has been for knowing and realizing that Burley has left us. To his dear wife, Mercy, and the entire family, I hope that they can find some comfort in this very, very difficult time. This was something that came sudden, and I hope that despite the shock and the suddenness in which this came, that they can realize that Burley was one who has made a contribution to the landscape far and wide here on the island of Nevis. So I certainly want to offer my condolences to the entire family. Webbo, we also have here in Bath the Dick family, who are also in mourning, and I want to also take this opportunity to offer my condolences to the entire family on the passing of Esmeralda. I hope I'm getting her name correctly. The husband, Crafton, the son, the daughter, and the entire family on the passing of Miss Dick. She has been, she is a citizen from the Windward Islands, but she came here to Nevis and has made Nevis her home, and she has made a contribution, and I hope that the family can find some comfort in knowing that she would have contributed certainly to the development of our beautiful island. We also have the Clark family there in the Gingerland area, who are also in mourning, and I also want to offer my very deepest condolences to the Clark family. Webbo, we also the last few days have heard and have learned of the passing of Lady Sheila Daniel, a woman who I thought has given so much to the development of the island of Nevis, the wife of our only national hero. I thought that she has lived an exemplary life in terms of her contribution. I know that she worked at the Nevis Philatelic Bureau for many years. Webbo, I want to offer my very deepest condolences to Adrian and Renella and the grandchildren, to Monica Tyson and the entire family on this loss. I also, Webbo, want to offer my deepest condolences to the Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley, because many of us would know that Lady Sheila was virtually his second mom, and I know that he too is feeling this deep loss. I hope that the family and those who are close to her inner circles, despite this tragic loss, can find some comfort in knowing that she has done a remarkable job here on the island of Nevis and led an exemplary life. But I want to say to the Anglican community as well that this is a huge loss for the Anglican community. Lady Sheila was an organist in all of the churches here on the island of Nevis. She would have played at St. Paul's Anglican Church, St. Thomas's. She would have contributed to St. James's, St. John's and St. George's over her many years as an organist, and it is indeed a tremendous loss, Webbo, for the Anglican community as well. And Webbo, I believe that as we reflect on these persons who we are recognizing who have left us here over the last few weeks, the question must be asked, what is man? We come, we make our contribution, we seek to do our very best, and then we demit the stage. I want to say to all of those families who are in mourning, my very deepest condolences to all who are in mourning tonight, and I hope that they can find some comfort in knowing that their loved one came, they saw, they contributed, and they loved. Webbo, I want to offer some birthday greetings to all those who are celebrating. Candy Thompson there in Tortola, BVI, the wife of my nephew. I hope that she is having a very wonderful birthday tonight. And all those persons who are celebrating a birthday, a wedding anniversary, or some accomplishment in their life, I hope that they are having a wonderful evening, Webbo. And I am certainly looking forward, Webbo, to the discussion tonight. Thanks for the invitation, Webbo.
Conrad Niall Liebert, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and once again, good evening to your hard-working staff here at Fun Radio, and to my colleagues, Mr. Brand, Mr. Fifield, pleasant good evening. And at the outset, Webbo, I would like to also wish everyone a Happy New Year, full of prosperity and things to achieve that you once dream of. I wish you every success, every positive achievement that you may set out to achieve in this year, and I hope going forward you can, of course, realize many of your dreams. Webbo, I'm happy to be here once again on this wonderful program, communicating with the people as we have done for many years. And I hope, Webbo, that when we left here tonight, that we can, of course, bring some resolutions and solutions to the various problems, and we can, of course, bring some warmness to those that are under great stress and pressure due to various circumstances that they are, of course, facing. I can always count on Mr. Brand to go through the many names that have that have left us here on Nevis.
Sometimes
and he always, I think, do a very good job. But Mr. Burley, yes, I know that individual. I've worked with him, and a good electrician, and of course he works for the government. And that's when I think I work along with him, and I just want to say to his friends and family, I want to express my very deepest condolences to his friends and family, and I hope, as it's been said, that they can find some comfort in the fact that he was a well-loved individual, a person who have contributed tremendously, and he was of great importance to the landscape of Nevis. I'm still shocked after I've been shown his picture tonight. I'm not a person who is very good with names, but after I realized who he was, I'm seriously moved by him, because he was always around. He was always around, in and out of the hardware, a functional individual in the trades. And I so again, my deepest condolences go out to his friends and family. And Webbo, I'm happy to be here once again, and I look forward to this occasion. Every time I get this text to say the program is on, I start searching my mind for the issues that are affecting the people, and just to communicate on behalf of some people, and to communicate what is, of course, uppermost in my mind as it relates to the people of Nevis and the wider region. I'm happy to be here, Webbo, and I want to thank you and the staff of One Radio once again. And before I finish, Webbo, I must communicate to you also and wish you a Happy New Year. And it's been a pleasure working with you over the past many years, and so I look forward to that kind of continuing relationship going forward. And I hope we can, of course, make that change where it is necessary, improve the lives of people, give clarity to their minds, and inspire the listeners of this program. I'm inviting the listeners to this program to participate some more and to feel more relaxed in calling in and expressing their views on topical issues, and so that we can, of course, have a good conversation about what is going on or what is to be, and of course, altogether we probably can make this island a better place. Once again, Webbo, I say thank you very much for having me, and I look forward to a healthy discussion this evening, hopefully.
Okay, before I go to Roger, let me just say here, in reference to you and Mr. Brand, that I hope it's working in terms of my style and what I do. Meaning that we have an old adage in the islands, I'm sure not just St. Kitts and Nevis. Anyone ever heard the adage or the phrase, you don't have to light no lamp to find me?
Yes.
Right. So I think under that heading, I hope that that is clear, that everybody knows, and the evidence is showing that up to now, that people read me well. Some make up stuff for nefarious reasons. And so, for instance, in the latest examples with Burley and Edric, sometimes I don't have to say a thing else, because people understand how we operate and how we live. And so we don't have to make up any recitation when the time comes. And so it is with all of my folks, including you guys. Remember the other day when I said, when the captain or anybody is missing from the team, we don't worry about nothing, because we're a powerhouse team. We lose a match here and there, you know what I'm saying. But anybody can captain the team and win. So understand that. Good evening, Roger Fifield.
Good evening, Webbo, and want to say a special good evening to my fellow panelists, Mr. Brand and Naya, and of course a special good evening to those who are listening and viewing near and far. Well, Webbo, I want to thank you yet again for the first time for 2025 for the invitation for me to be here tonight. I want to also extend Happy New Year to all, including you and your staff, Webbo. I think you guys would have done a wonderful job over the years, and no doubt would continue to do a great job this year and beyond. Webbo, I want to say to those who are recovering from whatever ailment and those who are in hospital, you know, speedy recovery. We know that there was an accident on the weekend in St. Kitts, and the reigning Miss Swimsuit is hospitalized and in need of blood urgently. We wish her speedy recovery. Webbo, I too want to join in as my fellow panelists would have done moments ago, Webbo, in sending out sympathy greetings to all those who are mourning at this point in time, including the family of the late Lady Sheila Daniel, to her close friends and family. And Webbo, I think this one really touched me closely, what I'm about to say. You know, I want to say sympathy greeting to, you know, the Walwyn family, including Burley's wife, Marcia, and of course Louise, his mother, Naomi, his sister, and all the other siblings and family. Webbo, this really, you know, touched me. I would have known Burley for a number of years. We went to school together. He's a little older than I am, and you know, to lose someone like Burley, you know, it's really heart-wrenching. especially so sudden, Webbo. And I know that he was close to you and the Powerhouse team, so I want to say sympathy greetings to you, to Webbo, and the entire Powerhouse team, Webbo. I think that his legacy, would live on for many years to come. He was a sportsman. He was an athlete in school, a long distance runner. He captained the Empire football team and also the Hard Timers football team many years ago, Webbo. Both teams I played under his captaincy for both teams, Webbo, and it's really saddening, Webbo. I had the opportunity to spend over 2 hours with him this Saturday prior to the Sunday when he passed, Webbo, and when I heard of it, it really touched me, Webbo, and to this moment it's really touching. But what I would say, Webbo, to those who left to mourn, Webbo, is to be strong for one another. Allow God to be your strength, your rock, your pillar, and your comforter, Webbo. Webbo, once again I want to thank you, Webbo, for your invitation, and of course, as always, I would encourage persons who are listening and viewing to call in. Of course, we can learn something from you, and of course, you can learn something from us. Once again, thank you, Webbo, for your invitation.
Okay, gentlemen, this is what I want to do, and I hope the audience appreciates it for the new year, because sometimes might be able to present a new me, but I can present a new what should I call it?
Perspective.
A new perspective, make you think something that interests you. So what happened is everybody hears about artificial intelligence or AI. And just like I suppose when we started with the internet, there was a lot of chatter about it, Facebook and all that stuff. And so this new aspect, well, not new in terms of just came out yesterday, but it's grabbing hold, the artificial intelligence. And we are very pleased that one of our citizens, Divisions, is in the heartthrob of the artificial intelligence as far as knowledge and impacting it is concerned. Dawn Liebert is of Nevis, and she is the daughter of our Deputy Governor General, Mrs. Liebert, and Teacher Elmo Liebert. And so she works with Microsoft.
Yep.
You're going to hear specifically what she does. So we spoke with her earlier today, pre-recorded, and we spoke about this artificial intelligence. If you think there's somebody who forgot that we started this evening, call them quick and tell them to tune in. Believe you me, I don't normally evaluate work that we do, but I found personally the interview, the discussion very interesting, and it is, we call it AI 101. The simplest of person can get it. Mr. Brand, you're going to find out when you listen that I perhaps can learn later on how you think. Before I ask your question, I probably can find out
what I'm thinking,
what and how you're going to answer. Fascinating. So I have that. We're going to give it a listen, and then on the flip side of it, we'll have a discussion about it.
You're listening to Vaughn Radio from the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis.
So I'm speaking with Dawn Liebert. Dawn is the daughter of the Deputy Governor General, Mrs. Aelita Liebert, and Teacher Elmo Liebert. So she's of Nevisian parentage. She grew up in Nevis, did her tertiary education and all that, high school, primary school, and everything in Nevis.
All in Nevis.
And she has never forgotten that. And currently, she is the General Manager of the Risk Management, Trust and Safety Operations of Microsoft. Nobody has to explain what Microsoft is. So we are going to be speaking with Dawn this morning, today, in reference to AI.
Absolutely.
Artificial intelligence. And we're going to be doing artificial intelligence, or AI 101, as they say in collegiate terms. In other words, we want to understand it as basic as possible. Of course, later on, when we speak with Dawn again, we can speak in more deeper terms.
Hopefully by then I'd be wiser as well.
Okay, so Dawn, it's good to have you here at the Eastern Caribbean Spa House, and I must say how proud we are of you and your achievements and your humble, just like your parents, your humble approach to it. So it's good to have you again.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Okay, before we get into the basic of AI, artificial intelligence, why don't you tell us a little bit about your exploits in terms of what you do and what you've been doing, since you left Nevis and stuff?
Absolutely. So you've mentioned already that I'm currently the General Manager of Risk Management, Trust and Safety Operations at Microsoft. That has been a journey of maybe about 20 plus years in risk and compliance. So when I left Nevis, I went to school at Alabama A&M University, graduated with an accounting degree, and from there ventured into what we call public accounting. So you may be familiar with firms like PricewaterhouseCoopers, KPMG. I actually worked at KPMG, and I started my career as an auditor. So I worked in external audit, really focused on financial service companies, and got my feet wet in terms of working with public companies and really getting to understand compliance from the financial services perspective. I joined Microsoft probably about 13 years ago, and joined Microsoft within their internal audit department. I served several roles within internal audit. That was a nice introduction for me for technology, because my experience up until that point was really focused on financial services. So moving into technology, completely different can of worms. And so it was a nice way for me to come in, learn the company, understand what Microsoft was all about. I had the opportunity through that role to serve first in terms of at the headquarters in Redmond, and got the opportunity to work with developers, the sales teams, finance groups, and really broad experience across Microsoft. And then about 3.5 years in, had the opportunity to move to Asia. So I actually was asked to take on director responsibilities for internal audit covering the Asia Pacific region. And so I lived in Singapore during that period for roughly 4 years. So I describe that as probably the career defining part of my career, simply because it was, taking a little girl from Nevis across the pond to Asia into a very culturally diverse part of the world, and being responsible for essentially Asia Pacific and understanding how compliance works in that market, being able to be at the forefront from a leadership perspective in terms of figuring out the direction that we needed to take on a number of compliance things that were happening in that space. I came back to Redmond after that 4-year stint and essentially worked my way up to being head of the internal audit department, and did that in a co-leadership responsibility with a couple of my peers. I was responsible mainly for the corporate side of the house, which encompassed things like global trade, privacy. GDPR was something that was very much coming to be at that point in time, and sustainability were some of the things that I oversaw. And then that eventually led me into this role, where I now have responsibility, among other things, for AI operations, and specifically making sure that at Microsoft we can deploy AI responsibly. There's also digital safety, which is all about protecting our customers and Microsoft in terms of different types of harms that may come about on our platform. So whether that's child safety, things, pornography, all types of things that we want to make sure that we're keeping safe.
Okay, so this is audio, strictly we're doing, but not video. So my duty is to help the audience understand. And as we're digesting what you're saying, I'm doing a little arithmetic.
Yes.
And you done 4 years here, this number of years here, you did high school and all that. And my audience is thinking, you must be well advanced in age. You know, but the truth is that you can still be described as a little girl from a small island
Yes.
and maneuvering the world stage. You are a still pretty young person, and therefore, with all of this responsibility, and to maneuver this stage must have taken some courage. How did your upbringing on a small island assist you in maneuvering the world stage?
I think, I really appreciate the upbringing I had in Nevis. I think it was something that through the support of my parents, they have always taught me that really the sky's the limit. I've been able to see them be very successful, and I think having that example was something that was good for me. It's little things like, when I lived here, I kind of tried everything. I tried debating, I tried modeling, I was involved in all kinds of youth groups. And I think all of those things are things that help you in life in terms of recognizing that you have the ability to go into a new situation and figure it out. And that has been the story of my career. Every opportunity that I've had, it's something where I may or may not have had the background, but I absolutely have the confidence that I can go in, I can learn, I can figure it out. I have my mother tongue, which is to ask questions and to ask for help where I feel I need it. And, I think, you had the opportunity to hear me at the diaspora event that we had a few months ago. And one of the things I talked about was, a childhood experience of, I was horrible in terms of physical activity and attributes. And, in kindergarten, my mom made me go run a race, and I did not do very well in that race. But she was right there along the way, running alongside me, encouraging me. When everybody else was at the finish line, I was not even halfway down the track. But what that taught me was the importance of finishing the race and not comparing myself with other people, and thinking about what is it that I could uniquely bring to the situation, and how do I use my strengths to help propel me, and then where there are things that I may fall short on, where do I get support? And so I think I've got an awesome support system. I certainly have a lot of examples locally in terms of people that have done really well.
So the reality, though, is it's like when some people argue, you can argue that the glass is full or half empty. You did not do well in the race, but you actually really did well.
I did.
Because the lesson it taught you, and you gained from it, propelled you argue to what you are today.
Exactly.
So you did do very well.
Yeah,
that
I learned that later. I was very embarrassed in the moment, and I still give my mom a hard time. But I think it was a lifelong lesson for me in terms of being able to finish the race and figure out how to do it my way. And that's the way I've gone through life.
Would it be fair for me to conclude that hence you have and are discovering who Dawn is?
Absolutely. Doing that every day. at Microsoft, we have this concept that's called the growth mindset, which essentially means that you never get to the destination. You're always, every day, trying to think about how you evolve, how you continue to learn, how you continue to challenge yourself. And I think that is the thing that really propels me in terms of always trying to think about what's that next thing. So we talk about AI, for example. I'd say that is a perfect example of a situation where we're all learning. This is new technology. The technology is evolving quickly. It's necessary for me and for others to be able to keep pace with this technology.
Okay, so that's where we are going now.
Okay.
AI. Everybody hears the term.
Yes.
I don't even know how many of us know AI means artificial intelligence, but everybody hears about AI.
Yes.
And not everybody hears the same thing. So, what is AI?
To put it in the simplest terms, AI is the simulation of a human mind. So we are utilizing a computer to do what humans would do. And so it involves training a computer to think like a human being. And so it requires leveraging a lot of the data that's already out there available, so it may be through the internet. So it's really a source of information that we're feeding into a computer to help the computer to think the way a human would.
The way you explained it just now, it is training the computer to think in a particular way. Does that suggest that in the end, nonetheless, man is still master?
I would say yes. You know, there will always, so far, even though we certainly have come very far from a technology perspective, there is still the need for human intervention. I think the way humans work is evolving over time in terms of there are jobs now that potentially a computer can do, but you need a human to train that computer. And so I think that is the lesson for all of us, that we probably have to start thinking a little bit more creatively in terms of where we're investing our time and energy in terms of what we're learning, because what we do as jobs today may not be what it looks like in the future, but I think man will always be the master, in my view.
Okay, so let us begin by saying that the person who is listening to us does not know anything at all about AI.
Okay.
Almost everybody has a tablet of some sort, a
Yes.
phone and stuff like that. And can these devices use AI? And as a consequence, the people with those devices, they'll have access to it.
Absolutely. So there is one of the most popular use cases for AI that's out there is called ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a large language model. What that means is that a large language model means that it's just a data set that is pretty significant. You have billions and billions of data available within this model. And ChatGPT is actually something it's an app that you can download on most of your phones. And it is something that helps you do small tasks.
An app meaning it's something like WhatsApp
Exactly.
or Instagram.
Yes.
Okay.
Just like you go to the Play Store and you download WhatsApp and you download Facebook, you can go to the Play Store or the App Store if you have an iPhone and download AI, ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what it's called.
So let's say you've done that now. Then what?
So ChatGPT is something that you can use to, if you want to know what the weather is like today, you can go in and ask ChatGPT, what's the weather like today? What should I wear? It will make you some suggestions. simple things just like that. If you have an email that you need to send to somebody, and you'd say, I need to send Mr. Herbert an email to remind him to do something in X number of days. You can write that prompt in. So there is a space where you can type things, or you can talk to it as well.
Yes.
And you enter that information, and it will provide you a result in seconds. If you have a speech that you are going to be giving, and you say, I need to have a speech about world peace, how to be a better individual, you say that to ChatGPT, they will give you a sample speech in a matter of seconds. The key then is then you use that information, and you can copy it into wherever you need it, and then tailor it to sound like you.
So, for those persons who do not like to write,
Yes.
they can engage in commands
Yes.
or with suggestion requests. Could you do this or do that?
Yes. And I think that's where students, for example, right now are leveraging this technology, and I think teachers are getting quite scared about, okay, when I get an essay from a student now, is this the student that's written this essay, or did they just use ChatGPT and said, I need to write an essay about the history of Nevis, and the computer goes in and gives you some suggestions. And so I think that's the way in which people are generally using the technology at this point.
But if we spend a moment on that, maybe perhaps the education officials and departments, etc., are moving not fast enough, slowly, because if that is already out there, then the structure and the evaluation method needs to change.
Exactly. And I have a 16-year-old, and it's one of the things, one of the things that they do in his school, for example, is that they have technology where they now run children's essays through this technology to see whether or not they feel that they're picking up on the fact that they may have used AI to write. But the thing that my view is that essentially the technology is out there. People are going to use it. And so I think as educators, we then need to start to think about how do we incorporate that into the way in which we teach, the way in which we learn, because it's out there and children are going to use it.
It's akin to formulas and calculators.
Yes.
So at some point, the educators realize that there's no point having persons learn every detail of the formula, but what we're testing on you is your ability to know which formula to apply.
Exactly. And so I think that's where we need to start moving towards. It's how do we incorporate the fact that this technology is there, children are leveraging it, and how do we make sure that we're teaching them how to use it responsibly. We're figuring out ways to incorporate that in the way in which they learn.
Notwithstanding it is not necessarily your area or your responsibility, but based on your knowledge and information, are those persons or departments or officials, are they doing the necessary catch-up? Or you find it lacking?
I would say in general, I think we're all lagging, quite honestly. The technology, I think, is moving a lot faster than the systems that are built around it in terms of how are we thinking about all the different ways that this can be used, both for good and for bad. And how do we make sure that we're keeping pace with this? I think that's the challenge that we're going to have, because when you start to think about the fact that it's a computer that you're training, once the computers get smarter, they continue to get smart at a very fast rate. And so the technology has the ability to move much faster than a human brain can move.
So we'll focus on a few of the positive stuff we can use the AI for. Can we go to some of the scary stuff?
There's a lot of that, for sure. And a big part of the job that I play at Microsoft, because what we describe that scary stuff, it's harms. It's how do we use this technology for harm. And we've just been through the U.S. Government election, for example. And that was one of the places where, ahead of the elections, Microsoft came out. We are the leader with the AI technology, and we started to think about what are some possible scenarios that can come about relative to campaigns. And so there's the concept of what we call deep fakes, which means that you're a candidate, you're out there, you want to make your opponent look badly. And so you think about, most of these individuals are very public figures, so it's very easy for you to go out and get a video of former President Biden, Kamala Harris, or Donald Trump. And you go out and you find a video that they may have done talking about something completely different, and you get different words to come from them, and you release that video. And so they call that deep fakes. It's a concept where you use a legitimate image of somebody, but the words that are coming out their mouth or the things that they are doing with their bodies is not true. And it's very hard to be able to differentiate that from real life. And that are the types of things that AI can do.
So where does the responsibility fall to?
That is a deep question. I can speak from Microsoft, for example,
yes.
As somebody who works at that company and whose job it is to make sure that we can deploy AI responsibly. For all of us, we have a response. We go out and we say, here is this great technology, but these are the things that we will commit to doing as a company. We will make sure that it's not used for harm, and we can only make that statement relative to the things that we develop. However, because of the fact that they are what we call bad actors that are out there that constantly stay ahead of the technology and try to figure out how can we break this, how can we make it do things that it was not intended to do. What we end up having to do is essentially, when we find out situations where there are deep fakes that are out there, for example, whether that be through a campaign or other bad usages, we quickly try to take that content off of whatever platforms are out there, and then we go back and we try to backtrack our steps and figure out what went wrong, how did it go wrong, and how do we prevent this from happening going forward. And so we're constantly updating our codes, doing things to make sure that we're putting in those safety guardrails to try to prevent people from being able to manipulate AI in a bad way. And that's an iterative process. It's not something where you can do it one time and then you're like, okay, it's completely safe now, because people are constantly trying to figure out new ways.
But you see, that's on Microsoft end. But the truth is that by the time we get to that, the trail of destruction that has taken place still needs to be remedied or cleaned up.
Exactly.
So that's perhaps, you think, can go under the heading of the price for progress?
It is, to some extent, the price of progress. I mean, there is so much good that's available in terms of what AI can do in terms of helping our productivity, helping to save time.
What about medicine, health-wise?
Yes, exactly. There is so much that positive that you can use for it. You can use it in education. You can use it for health. There are so many surgeries and all kinds of things that are happening now that are done completely with robotics. For example, you have people being able to go in and have surgery that typically would have caused a recovery period of months, that you can now have people go in and do surgeries and be leaving the hospital the same day. And it is technology that has allowed that. But the thing is that in order for you to think about how you stay ahead of the bad that people can do, you have to start thinking like the bad people and be able to anticipate what is possible. And so there are certain things that you can do. One, you can try to limit the type of technology that you make available to everybody. And so that's probably the biggest thing that the industry has tried to do relative to AI, where if you're using AI for, say, military intelligence, that is something that you know the power of that technology. And so you want to make sure that that can only get in the hands of the military versus technology that allows you to write an email or an essay. That is something that, you want to make that broadly available. And so those are the types of things that you can do as precautionary measures. But the truth is that even with the safer stuff that you let out for general public, that people can manipulate that.
Companies such as yours, Microsoft, and those other big tech companies that do these innovations and stuff like that, what is the collaboration with
each other? Yes. I mean, that's a big, so the political deepfakes, for example, is a great example of where the industry came together and said, hey, we know that this is going to happen. And so what are the things that we can do collectively to try to guard ourselves, guard the country against this? Because these are things that can affect national security. And so they really leverage, and so you have things like what you call think tanks, and our CEO talks to the Apple CEO and Amazon, and they kind of all talk to each other.
And how about governments that legislate?
Exactly. We work very closely with the regulators. I think we permanently have individuals that sit in Washington that really think about, okay, we understand the technology that we're about to put out. How do we work with regulators to make sure that there's proper regulation around that? That the regulation comes ahead of the technology where we can influence. And so those are some of the things that we do try to do.
Now, what would you do on a personal level in terms of making a suggestion? Because I hate to use the word advice, but making a suggestion to people who might be listening, who heard about AI and might be scared about using it, or what would you say to persons? Should they use it or not?
Absolutely. I think it's trying it. I like to use my mom as an example, because I tell her that whenever I have to walk her through anything technology-wise, I feel like I lose several years off of me. But, we make fun with each other. But I introduced her to ChatGPT, for example, and it's a simple way to get accustomed.
Very user-friendly?
Yes, it's very user-friendly, because all it is just like you talking to you. If you're not comfortable typing, there is a microphone. You can hit a button there. The microphone comes live, and then you have the ability to have a conversation with the technology. And just like you and I are sitting and talking, and you're asking me questions, that's exactly how you use ChatGPT. You have a question. There's something that you need done. You just ask ChatGPT, how do I do this? And so I would encourage people to try it. And
how difficult it is to detect whether it is Webbo or it is Chat GPT?
that is very difficult. And I'll tell you why it's difficult. It's difficult because we have, so a huge part of my team is actually involved in training these models. And we are training them to think like a human being. And what I do is essentially we have, I think my team, we represent about 25 different languages. And when we look for different languages, we're not only looking for, you know, whether you can speak Chinese, but we need a native Chinese speaker. And the reason why we go for native languages is because there are the little nuances in terms of the way you and I speak English is very different from the way an American would speak English. And so we start to try to get the machine to understand the different nuances that may come from cultural differences. And so the machine really begins to think like a human being. And so it is difficult for somebody to be able to differentiate whether it's you or if it is AI. But one of the things that where you can still find a little bit of difference is, you know, people are familiar with you and they know the types of words that you might use and the little nuances in the way that Webbo communicates. And so while the machine is really good in terms of what it would suggest, it's still a little bit general. And so that's why I encourage people to leverage that to get ideas, but then make it your own. I think there's still an opportunity for you to make it feel like Webbo.
Let me ask this. Because I've been trying to do this all my life. Because I have found that if I'm able to do this, I'm good. I'm done. Can GPT or the AI give me an hint or an insight into what you may be thinking?
Absolutely. So I had this experience the other day with my my boss and I meet on every 2 weeks to catch up. You know, I let her know what's going on in my area of the world and anything that I may need help with. And we had a little fun moment because I typically would send her an agenda before I head to the meeting so that she has an idea of what I'm going to cover. And at Microsoft, the AI productivity tool set that we use is called Copilot. And before our meeting, she asked Copilot, can you tell me what Dawn's agenda is going to be today? And I then sent her my agenda. Her agenda that she got from Copilot, I think with the exception of one item, exactly matched mine. And the reason why that's possible is because what the technology did was that it essentially went through all the different communications that we've had during that 2-week period. What were the types of questions that I asked her?
Really?
What was the questions that she asked me? And likely those are the things that we would end up talking about because I'd be providing updates on things that we've discussed. And so that's how the technology is able to anticipate and help provide insights, because it keeps track of what are the types of things that you've been interested in.
So that if you and I converse via texting and stuff like that, that is in the database.
Exactly.
So then if I want to ask you a question tomorrow and I'm thinking, should I ask you or not? Because maybe I figure you might. And I ask GPT, says she probably will say yes.
Exactly. It's interesting how GPT works, because it leverages the data that's already out there. It's what are the types of things that you probably notice that if you use social media, for example, and you go and you surf different websites. So for example, if I go on Facebook and I'm big on online shopping, and it pays attention to the types of shopping that I've been doing online. And so all of a sudden when I go on Facebook and there are ads that relate to, you'll be like, interesting that, a couple days ago I was looking for, a new home here or some type of product, and then all of a sudden you log in to do something completely different and there's an ad on specifically that, because it keeps track of the data, it keeps track of your interests, it keeps track of the things that you've been spending your time on, and then it makes it available to you so that it makes your decision making easier.
But this is fascinating. Maybe there's a fellow who used to tell me, so maybe you can hire him, that he's the head of AI. He would tell me that he knows what I'm thinking, so it isn't necessary, because he seemed like he was a con man, because every time I stop and say, well, finish it, he couldn't, but he had the right idea.
He did, and that's exactly what we want to do with the technology, that the technology can start to anticipate your needs. When I start my day, I get hundreds and hundreds of emails per day because of the role that I play. And instead of me spending the time in the past where I would have to go through all these emails, I simply get in the morning, I type a prompt in Copilot, which is it's essentially akin to ChatGPT, and I say, what is in my inbox that I need to pay attention to? And in a matter of seconds, it highlights in bullet form, here are the things that you need to focus on today. So it will capture anything that I need to approve, anything that I promised somebody I would get back to them on Tuesday, and today is Tuesday, and so it would tell me, remember that you need to do this. And so it's amazing how you can use the technology to just save time and really anticipate how you spend your time as well.
Okay, and I hope that our time was well spent.
Absolutely.
So I want to again thank you very much for speaking with us, and to again let you know how proud we are of you in the role that you play on the world stage, and being so humble about it, and are able to come here and share with us. And as usual, please come back again.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. It was absolutely my pleasure. I find the work I do very interesting, but always near and dear to my heart is the fact that I am from Nevis, born and bred here, and so happy to contribute in any way that I can.
All right, thank you.
Always satisfying. Vaughn Radio, the powerhouse.
Builders Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. Builders Paradise has over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need. Wow! Oh, and remember, we're open all day Saturday to serve you better. This is something that you can't refuse. Visit Builders Paradise today at the C.A. Paul Southwell Industrial Site in St. Kitts, or call them at 466-4938.
Okay, I'm going to ask one by one what you think, but let's start out and the ending part, and let you know that part was true. The fellow who always said he knows how I think, and when I challenged him, he couldn't say. So he had the right idea, but you can see he was a con man. Okay, so Fifi, what do you think?
Well, I believe that it was a really good interview. I believe that we who got the opportunity to listen, would have learned a lot. Webbo, I would have heard of AI, and know certain things, what it can do, the capabilities, but I never knew, in depth, its capabilities as I have learned this evening, Webbo. And I think, Webbo, that we, as a society, we have to keep a pace. We have to get abreast, because the world is changing, and it's changing at a real rapid pace. And we are not living in St. Kitts Nevis in isolation, and hence we would have to keep a pace. Webbo, I think little things as Don would have said, Webbo, she would have worked some 4 years in Singapore. We all know that Singapore is one of the world's best model, so to speak, of customer service, and for her to be part of that, I must say kudos. But to come back, Webbo, directly to the AI and the GPT, I think that, Webbo, that, even here in St. Kitts Nevis, I know that persons would have been using it, but I believe, as she rightfully said, if we use it, we should just use it as a guideline, and whatever we do with it, we are to make it our own. For example, if a child doing an essay, and I happen to note to Webbo, even it's not just speeches, Webbo, it's the creating of different content, the creating of songs of all genre, Webbo, that you can get from AI, Webbo. And it's really interesting. Even when she spoke about the native language, I think it was something like 25 different languages or something like that, and they use native persons because of the varied in the nuances and stuff like that, Webbo. I find it to be really interesting, Webbo. And the good thing about it, Webbo, they hold back certain content from the general public. She used the example of the military, because we know if that content or information were to go out there, what could really happen could cause chaos and stuff like that, Webbo. And we have to be mindful right here in Little St. Kitts Nevis, especially when she spoke about the part about politics, and people can use certain images and it of the real person, and the words that appear to be coming out of their mouth seems to be legit, which would not be. So we have to be mindful, and we have to pay attention. And the other good part is that they try to balance it in terms of doing risk management, and stuff like that. What if this happened, how we can counteract it, how can we pull it back and stuff like that. So I believe that is really a good. So it's not just out there, quote unquote, on its own running wild, but it's been monitored. It's been safety nets are in place to safeguard personal information, so to speak, and the general public, so to speak. Webbo, I believe it's really interesting and fascinating, and I have learned so much in that maybe half an hour to 35 minutes, Webbo. And I can probably speak on, but I'm sure my fellow panelists would want to probably chime in, Webbo.
Who wants it? Yes.
Webbo, very interesting interview, and I sat there and I smiled, and I felt so proud as a division. I felt this joy and this excitement that Webbo, here it is, a young girl from our neck of the woods, who came up through our system, through our various infrastructure, our various educational infrastructure here, and have rose to basically in the boardroom, so to speak, of one of the most powerful companies on the face of the planet. And I think that every single Nivision and Kittitian should feel extremely proud of Dawn Liebert. Oftentimes I know that both her and my wife normally have a little back and forth on social media, but I don't normally get involved with them because as someone once said, when you see elephant, you leave them alone. But remember, I am so proud. I felt so proud to have listened, and I want, Webbo, that our young people who would have heard this interview, and I hope that this interview can be shared with all of the media houses throughout the Federation, and let them proclaim to our young people that, listen, it doesn't matter whether you come from McKnight or Sandy Point or Rollins or Jessops. Once you put your heart and your mind into something, you can reach to the top. And that, for me, Webbo, is one of the messages that I want to say to our young people tonight. Webbo, she spoke about this app, ChatGPT. I am familiar with it. I also know about chatbot AI. And these, Webbo, are some of the popular AI apps that can give some assistance to in many areas. But Webbo, I am happy that she spoke a lot about the safeguards that Microsoft and the other big tech companies are talking about and trying to put into these AI softwares. And Webbo, I think that while these modern and new technologies can assist us in our daily activities and how we function and perhaps improve and increase our productivity, I also think that we can also be very much aware that there are those persons who will use these apps for nefarious reasons. Spoke about how you can take the picture of Naya or Spencer or Roger and have them look as though they are saying things that really they aren't saying, and that for me is one of, and we have seen it in the last election, the last US election, Webbo, where you see certain things on social media, and you really have to pay attention, because if you don't pay attention, you will really think that those words are actually coming out of the individual mouth. And these are areas, Webbo, that we have to be very careful. I think, though, Webbo, that if we are seriously to, one, increase and improve our productivity, these are some of the technologies that we are going to have to deploy. There is no if, no buts, no maybe about it. Technology continue to play an important role in the development of mankind. We would recognize, Webbo, just like when radio, many years ago, talking about radio and how people, what is this new thing, and how transformative has radio has been. We have seen the kind of fears and concerns that they have had when they started to talk about this internet, and all of these, Webbo, have proven to be developments in technology that has certainly helped mankind. Every single thing that we do now involves the use of technology. The very cars that we are driving, technology. We travel from here to the United States, a lot of technology is involved in the aircraft. So it's all around us. We have to begin to recognize that we have to embrace it. We are not to be fearful of it. And I think that we just have to be able to use it wisely. We just have to be mindful as well of the challenges that it can cause if we don't use it wisely and if we don't use it properly. But Webbo, for me, again, I sat and I listened. I want to say thank you to Dawn, a very quintessential Nivision who I think any youngster, any young boy, any young girl can look to and emulate and say that, listen, that is a young lady from Brown Hill and I want to be just like her. And I think for me, at the end of the day, that was, I would think, the most inspiring part of it. That here it is. There's a young lady who came from among us, who have now are able to sit in the room, in the boardroom of one of the largest tech companies in the world. And I take pride in hearing and listening to that, Webbo. So I want to say thanks. And Webbo, I want to congratulate you for conducting that interview. I thought that it was an interview that continued to show your diversity, continue to show your ability to relate to the various developments, not only here in our federation but globally. And I thought that this was an interview of a very high standard. And I thought that the interaction that you have had with someone who have been involved in the tech industry, that the conversation was one that was on par. And I really want to congratulate you as well. And I hope that, like I said, I hope that this interview can be shared, can continue to be played here on Van Radio, shared in our schools, and with the hope, Webbo, that it can inspire another boy, another girl, that, hey, listen, not because you are from 36 square miles, that should not limit you. It should inspire you to do great things.
Naya.
Thank you, Webbo. And I would like to say congratulations to you, Webbo. I think you've broken down, something as complex as AI into a very simple, digestible conversation. And I think the interview was well done. And I would like to also say congrats to Don Liebert. Yes, he makes us all feel proud, really. But if one can recall that Microsoft, one of the founders of Microsoft was a Nivision, was Mr. Huggins from Bad Plain. Eustace Huggins. He was major in its a founding member, or he works there as one of the big players. And so, we continue to make marks and ripples very far out there in terms of technology. But for the AI thing, I think it's we are the world. We are the world, and we are part of the world, and we cannot hide from these type of developments. One good thing is that, they and the big tech companies are there to police this new development, and of course that's I suppose is going to be the greatest challenge, for it not to fall in the wrong hands and to aid the evils of the world, really. But I think there's a lot to benefit from AI, and as she was speaking, and I start thinking of Nevis. I think we can do well with that technology functional here on Nevis, because I think even though some will be threatened by it, some will lose their job, because I believe if you can improve service in Nevis, because I think service in Nevis is absolutely bad. I mean, just the other night I went to a place and it's like, is this a self-service place? Ain't nobody want to come run the gas, nobody want to come run the gas. And I get on my car and say, is this a self-service place or what? And then the two of the workers start arguing, and in that context, and I know the Four Seasons in New York or somewhere in the US have been employing AI to do massages and so forth, and knowing that we have a Four Seasons here in Nevis. So I mean, we expect things to change in many regards when it comes to the AI. Of course, it's a bit threatening for employment for some people. I don't think we are so far distant from that, because I think the technology is unfolding pretty rapid, and I see it as a good aid at times, as Webbo pointed out in the interview. I mean, just like a calculator. Of course, something which is a lot more advanced. I think it can speed up processes, and that is, of course, can improve productivity. So I think AI is something to behold, just like the internet and everything else, seems a bit intruding sometimes, but then you employ the good part of it, and of course you're well in line with global technology, global speed in which things function these days, and of course in the area of politics, got to be careful there, but as Don said, during the campaign in the US, the various high-tech groups come together and ensure certain things wasn't taking place. As I said, the major thing about this new and advancing and very much consuming technology is the ability to police it and to ensure that it is used. And I don't think they can be 100% certain and 100% successful about that, really, because the bad people are always kind of one step ahead. And only until things are being done, then they will run to counteract it, they will run to fix the situation, But I think AI is a good thing, and we want the intelligent minds of Nevis to be ready to employ it and to just to improve the efficiency, improve the productivity, and of course be mindful also that it can replace human ability, human ableness, and that can be threatening, where some people might lose their job when a computer can be more efficient. But I know in Nevis, I can talk about Nevis, we have a problem here with self-service. The people are so laid back. You got to beg people to really perform their work. You're buying something from them, they go on like, you're begging them, and in that area, I hope when the technology unfolds some more, this can be some kind of threat or some kind of warning to them to probably improve and play the role more efficiently, because I think that is one of our drawbacks here on Nevis in particular. People seems to be not really on their toes and quick in their reaction in terms of the service that we get, and we find that in government offices, we find that in the private sector. And so I would welcome the AI here, because as I said, I had an experience which I think, it seems like if you had some computers here, I would have been well served and out of here before. But so I'm very proud of Don, but it is not above our ability, It's not above the Nevisian ableness. It's not about the Kittitian ableness. It's really about education. It's really about applying yourself and that yearn to really, be educated and find yourself in the right place, and willing to take chances, willing to go into new positions and learn, and willingness to really ask for help when you need help. I think she spoke of that, really. Nevisians have been creating ripples in the States in the area of technology and education all the time, and so we continue to do that, I hope on the local front we can have more hands-on technological advance in that respect, and have us improve in every respect, because I think we got to use it to the positive, and of course not to the negative. I think in the area of politics where most conflicts orientates here in the Federation, we probably got to be very mindful of that. But at the same time, people must also trust their ability, and as Don say, it cannot function without man, and because the data also comes from existing human behavior, and so I think if you're a bad guy, then then it's interpret you as a bad guy, and it interpret that bad things would come from you. So I think it's something that it's very interesting. It's very interesting. So we should all, of course, try and be good that what is collected on you is something good and positive and can really bring about betterment for the world and for the people in general. But I think, I would like to see it more playful around here. I would like to see it more existing, more functional around us, because I think we need to really improve in various areas as it relates to interacting with one another. And I'm not saying let's replace the people with robots, but I guess the threat of AI, and as I know that Four Seasons have already been employing it in the massage parlor and so forth in the States, and so we have a Four Seasons here, so it might come our way very soon. And so let's be good at what we're doing and trust our ability, and let's try and apply our real intelligence before we tend to depend, because I know some old lady can simply multiply 79 by 89 one time. The young people today can't even multiply 5 by 5. You have to run to the computer. And the point I'm making is that we should still trust our own ability and exercise our minds, And even though there are times we're going to need that aid, that help, that assistance, and just to be faster and at times more efficient, we still have to let the kids know that their mind is a mind that can work, and you don't always have to turn to the latest technology to figure out very simple things. But I think AI is a great thing, and we welcome it. And in fact, we cannot hide from it. We are part of this. We are part of the world. The world is one global space today as it relates to technology, and so we just got to make the best use of it, I think. Webbo?
One of the things I am concerned about, and I had pointed it out, we had a discussion on that, and we had a great discussion before and after as well, is that whether or not we're keeping a pace. The education bosses and stuff like that. Now, it is not a matter of if, we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
But it's whether or not you're going to keep a pace. And one of the examples I use, there was a time when you just mentioned, Naya, you can multiply 79 by 80 something easily.
Yeah.
Nothing is wrong if you can't do that now. Because I ain't going to trade in the computer, and the calculator and so on for that. What happens is that you use your brain in different ways, and you still get the result, but not by that method. Remember, in terms of statistics, when we had to memorize a formula and then work out the stuff and so on. And then when they had calculators come in, the objective was different. You now had to only know what formula to use in what circumstances, etc. Right? So that is what I'm saying. You got to keep a pace. And so the education bosses and so on that we have, who are still lagging behind, and that's the fascinating thing about it. We have our brightest people in these positions. So why are we lagging behind? There's nothing wrong with these things. One of the things that Dawn said, for instance, is that we had a discussion, and not even sure if it was part of the interview, and we were talking about the teachers now are trying to find out and assess whether or not the SBA or the essays that the kids are bringing in, whether it was what do you call it, AI generated and stuff like that. There should have been already a pace. So there's no problem with that. Look at a different objective. What you're trying to find out from them, do they have the ability to do this or do that? So the focus has to be different, what you're looking for.
But you still have to wait for the technical experts to provide that program to actually find out whether or not.
What do you mean wait for the technical expert? I changed my phone the other day and you have on an app for AI. That's part of the problem I have with some of us. We're good at giving an excuse why something can't be done. Yeah. As Edric W. would say, but I said language. Are you following me?
Yeah, but does the app really shows you the way you can differentiate?
Let me take this. Can show me how you differentiate Naya from Webbo? Hello, good evening.
Hey, good evening, Webbo.
Yes.
Good evening to all of your co-hosts.
Happy New Year to you.
Oh, yes, to you. I missed you. Miss all of you.
Yes.
Well, I hope Doc don't get suspicious. Work with me. I hope Doc don't get suspicious, but we miss you dearly too.
Oh, yeah, you should.
Yes, go ahead.
I am calling to compliment the young lady. The young lady. Actually, she's aware of Miss Southwell. When her Southwell granddaughter was here the other day, maybe 2 years ago, at the Prime Minister's thing. I think she's in a similar field.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware of her?
Yes.
Now, I heard the Prime Minister say that they're training the first set of students or young people to do some work so that when they finish, they should be able to be hired by Microsoft. Are you aware of that?
No.
You're getting into things like coding and those kind of things.
Yeah. You heard about it? I think it's this month or next month they're going to start. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Brand. You were answering. You said
no. Yeah, I said to the caller that it's all about the coding, getting involved in coding, and coding is a part of the whole programming of computers and so on to basically think like humans. So the coding part of it is what the education component.
So will it be done in English too?
I know we're getting involved in
will it be done in English?
The coding is really the writing of the codes, really to tell the computer what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And that is where now the information technology and part of our technological infrastructure is now heading.
It sounded to me was a little more than that, you know. Because I said that you could work for Microsoft also online.
It has to start with the coding component of it.
Now, how can you detect if something, say you get a message with somebody's picture, image, and the speech is not genuine. I heard thing talking about Mike Zuckerberg, his name is?
Mike Zuckerberg, yes.
Yes, I was listening to on C-SPAN when he said he's going to stop fact check, and he want the community, maybe those who feel it is not proper.
I don't know if this will answer what you're asking, caller, but one of the things I discussed with Ms. Liver today in reference to finding out whether it's actually Webbo or Naya, she said
yeah, because I was thinking so. Because you could go on your Facebook, take your image and put it. Because how can you prove it not you? Because people believe what they see.
Okay, so I was trying to explain to you what she said in answer to that question. She said they were not at the level yet because there is not really a clone of Webbo yet. And a clone of Naya, so they are not that good as yet, and she is not sure whether they will get that good because for instance, my accent and, my culture in terms of talking and so on will be different to somebody in Australia, for instance, and so on. So that little difference, the computer is not able to...
It may be so subtle that you don't detect it,
Yeah, it can be, depending,
Especially politics, that they slander each other.
Right, but let me ask you this, just as a light moment. You think any one of those clowns can mimic me with the voice and style?
One of what?
Any one of those clowns can mimic me with the voice and style?
Yeah. Sometimes you have to leave something alone.
Right, so what I'm saying is, what if one of the clowns decide they're going to make a fake Webbo speech?
So what would you do?
No, what I'm asking you is, you think they can get you with that? You're not going to say no, that ain't Webbo?
Yes.
You think they'll get you with that?
But maybe you not think it's true.
Oh, really?
They might be so good that you wonder, did I really say that?
No, maybe maybe with me it wouldn't work, because I never been on Facebook. Don't intend to be.
Oh, you don't Facebook?
No, but somebody told me one time, work with me. Somebody told me one time I was on Facebook. But it didn't last for long, so it looked like it didn't work.
Yeah, I used to when I was able to see. And even before that, people started singing my jacket or whatever, my thing. And other people could see it and I couldn't see it. When I tried to identify it, me say, so your Facebook can handle some kind of statement which I will never make,
I see.
So, sometimes you have to do something alone, because the more you try to investigate, the more they entangle you.
Yep.
I'll hang up because if I'm making so much noise I can't hear well.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you. Yes, who was it? Yeah. So, Mr. Brand, the part I was pointing out to you is where they will be able to now tell me, based on the data they collected in you, whether or not you remember when I told her that I had this guy who tell me he knows how I think. So they'll be able to, because there's a lot of data there on you, they can formulate and figure, well, if I go to Mr. Brand with this particular thing and I ask ChatGPT what is going to say likely will say no. No, this thing is real.
It's real. It's real. It's real.
The other thing in terms of going forward now, the politics, people use it a lot for that, for the fake stuff, because it works.
Yep.
Yeah, but they said they're already policing that in a big way. I mean, up there, I'm not sure what we're going on.
Right, but here's where I'm saying that the people who has the relevant authority, they're not keeping a pace. So you're aware of all these things, and you're not coming ahead. You're waiting until the horse leave the stable to close it. You already get a hint of what these things. Is it necessary to put legislation in place? Is it necessary to do, and so on? That's what I'm saying.
Well, Webbo, I would say this. I would say this. I believe that we all, would recall just recently the Attorney General would have made some statements. I believe it was in Parliament about not specifically to AI, but the use of the social media and the idea of going down a particular path where this notion of free speech and right to say what you want, when you want, and how you want, without providing any facts or any basis on which you are. And there was an outcry that and I think when you look at that particular situation and you tie it into now this AI, there will have to be, Webbo, these safeguards as it relates to part of the conversation that you had with Ms. Libert. And how it is that we are able to use this technology. You spoke about the political component of it, and I remember seeing again recently where I believe it was the Prime Minister doing some really miraculous dance moves. And you said, and when I look at it, I say, well, maybe the Prime Minister can dance, but I don't think that Prime Minister can do all of those dance, and up to now he hasn't broken a sweat. You realize that already you can see the intervention of the AI and the technology and how it can be used. And I think that we really have to be careful in terms of how it is that we are going to use it. And I feel, Webbo, that the time will sooner rather than later where the necessary legislation, I know Ms. Libert spoke about putting in the safeguard to protect our children and our the most vulnerable and so on in our communities and those kind of things. Those are the kind of things, Webbo, those are the kind of parameters that these big tech companies are going to have to build in to ensure that, yes, there will be persons who will use this kind of technology for mischievous outcome with the hope of having a particular outcome. But I feel that we have to, one, use the technology. It is, like I said, it's all around us. We see it every day. We can touch it. I mean, it's everywhere. But how we use it, and I think that the safeguards in terms of the policies and the necessary legislation and laws to govern it as to how we can deploy that within our federation will have to come.
Well, I hope when it does come, those laws and legislation have teeth, because they got too much laws and legislation that really doesn't bring out no consequence in a sense.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of things are not really supportive of these laws and legislation. Let's hope those that put the laws and legislation don't fall foul of the laws and legislation, you know, as it relates to these technological advancement, because you sometimes only have to change seat, you know. But I do understand what Webbo is saying, to be abreast with the unfolding technology and consequence to those that probably fall foul of certain, you know, usage of it, you know, maybe not just on a political level, but even in our education system and so forth, you know, and so because you know, the people with the big tech, they will of course put things as it relates to your phone and so forth, but on the ground here, I think, you know, we got to be up to date, and we got to be, of course, more advanced, because we've been told, and not to wait till these things start happening, you know, and yes, Webbo?
Yeah, the fundamental thing about it is, it comes down to something basic again. It doesn't matter what you write. You do all sort of laws, but it has another component of it. Even in the Bible, there's a consequence for everything.
Absolutely.
And if it is not enforced, it is of no use. Now, I was discussing the other day with a couple of folks the new traffic inspection rules and stuff like that with one of the providers, and they show me a lot of the requirements and the technology in terms of the tint and all these things and stuff like that. And you know me, I'm a pretty good listener. And each time they explain just one question: so how is it different to what was there before? More things and more style than Prende in these new things. But, well, so how it's going to be different? Because the fundamental thing is, it won't be enforced. So you have the same result. So when these things, you put these laws and things in place, and nobody follows them through because of nobody wants anybody vex with them and so on, and all people do is start and get no result, and all we do is end up being a complaining society.
Webbo, I think that based on what Don would have said in the interview, they're not basically leaving it up to governments to pass laws. In risks, you have to be able to think like, the rascals. And they have a unit, and she would have indeed said that those bad actors, they are normally ahead of the game. But if we are to take some comfort, they are constantly updating their
protocols and so on.
Right, exactly. So we could, take some comfort in that, Webbo. I believe too that, especially in the bigger countries, they are mindful that they can be sued and stuff like that. So
we had a thing long ago. Maybe you're not old enough, 5 years. That my mother used to tell us, you all to like ready dress. You hear what they're saying? We're hoping that these big countries will put the things in place so that we don't have to do nothing.
No.
Don't work with me. It doesn't work like that. Even in the Bible, I find something, a light moment, something fascinating in the Bible. A lady, when we were on the playground the other day, I met a lady. She introduced herself to me today. And she said, I am the lady who asked for the two things. I said, what do you mean? She said, when you say anything free, take two. So that was a good light moment, right? So we waiting, to like ready dress. So they are not going to put the thing in place so that you don't have any faults or loopholes and stuff like that. That's our part. We want to use the thing. We got to do our part as well. In the Bible, the salvation is free, but I wonder how come a lot of people don't take it up. That's the only thing.
It's free, but you have to follow the rules. You have to follow the rules.
You have to follow the rules. So you have to exert something.
Yes.
Right? So while Microsoft and all the other big giants and stuff like that, they mean good or well, and they put certain things in place, but evil will always be fighting good.
Yep.
So don't hang your hat too much and expecting and wanting them to send you something that is not, how must I put it, foolproof. You know what I'm saying? Be prepared to do our part.
Right, Webbo, I do understand that and appreciate that, Webbo, but what I was saying, that Microsoft themselves would, put certain things in place. Notwithstanding that, of course, our government would have to pass legislation from time to time to protect its citizens. And that is what government, put in place for, in part. So I wasn't basically going down that particular line. What I was saying is that Microsoft itself, based on the interview, would continue to update, the protocols and stuff to provide safety nets.
By the way, that interview we will play it not only on this forum, we'll play it other times, because the intent was to be as simple as possible so that as many people would understand. And I would like those in authorities also to maybe do what we did and utilize that resource in Dawn and others who have that. Those people are going to be very believable and trustworthy, because again they come with no political ties and stuff like that, and sometimes the public need that, and all they do, they give the information, they're willing to help and learn and stuff like that. So I hope that objective was met. Who's got the last word?
Well, I don't know if it's the last word, but I wanted to raise something at the start of the show. I want to commend you and the team at Van Radio. I've noticed that the FM band is as clean and as crystal clear as possible. It almost sounds as though you've changed the the 6 cylinders and put in
So
a 12 cylinders.
because we're out of time, we just say, well, what else you expect? One of the best will do. So who got the last word?
Well, the best will do, and that's why, of course, we have been creating ripples around the region for over 30-something years, and I'm so proud to be a part of it, actually. Hopefully, with the introduction of AI, we will even improve our status and our ability across the region going forward.
Maybe the AI and the chat, what is this, chat GPT?
Yeah.
Maybe we don't need to replace Edric then. We could just use the AI and then we have Edric with us.
Tiny voice.
Yeah.
You got a lot of data.
So this program repeats tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock following the VON News Minute. Join the Honorable Mark Brantley tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock for On The Mark. Join Keith Scarborough on Thursday evening at 8 o'clock right here in the Eastern Caribbean's Powerhouse for Government at Work, a place where you can spend all of your evenings right here in the Eastern Caribbean's Powerhouse. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community, Thought That Get Results. You all have a wonderful evening.
Views and opinions expressed on the preceding program are solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the News Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.